I am now. What's up, Addicts? We're here to talk about Goblin Slayer episode 13. Yeah, we're recording.
We're good.
And this is the last episode of Goblin Slayer. This might be a little bit longer video because we might include a review, just so we don't have a separate edit.
Sure.
Don't worry about adding the graphics, okay? Because this is technically an episode by episode thing. So, getting off, I guess just kind of recapping, we got to see that Goblin Slayer takes care of the Goblin Lord. And that's basically it. You get to see
party.
A party.
He takes his helmet off.
Yeah, fan service, and they have this really emotional talk or monologue from Priestess, which we are kind of mixed on. But that's basically it, Michael. What you feeling here?
The final fight was interesting. I don't remember in the book because it's been so long. But it's cool that it was like, oh, he trusted Priestess to save his life, so that's cool, I guess. He kind of left that to chance, but whatever.
Well, and we called, there was a lot of things in this episode that I think we called pretty spot on.
the Goblin Lord's, monologue about, what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and then we called the Priestess was going to come in. I think one of us did. I don't think both of us agreed on that, or we had different things. But yeah, so a lot of the, I guess, big suspense moments we called, so there wasn't really much to wow there. For me, I don't know about you, I think the final fight was a little underwhelming or / too short. There was some good parts of it. He throws grass in his face, or he gets knocked back, but he ends up stabbing him. So I mean, there was good parts of it, but I don't know, something about it just didn't scream last episode to me. And after they kind of hyped this up as I don't know if you really want to say it's the strongest opponent he went up against in the first season. Maybe that'd probably be the ogre that he killed, but I don't know. Just something about it just didn't really scream season finale. And overall, I would say I was really banking on the last episode to change the overall rating or the overall just impression I had of the first season. And then the last episode, not the last episode, but second to last episode, episode 12, I really was like, oh, well, maybe we're going to get that to where it's going to, really change my overall perspective. And I didn't really get that.
I mean, I wouldn't say this last episode.
Not to say it wasn't bad. It was just okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it was good. There was some action moments that were good. I think the extended part that they had where Goblin Slayer goes back to the town and they have a recap of all the characters. Usually in anime that's 3 or 4 minutes.
And it was majority
10
of the
minutes, 10 or 11 minutes. The final fight was a little underwhelming. I mean, it is what it is. I think the main problems that I had with that is kind of talking about Goblin Slayer wanting to be an adventurer, but it's that's not what he is. He's just a Goblin Slayer.
Or when the gods are he favored him.
Yeah, I don't know if the gods really favored him. He's just a normal dude. And then some of the Priestess monologue was also a little bit.
I think it's described when I was telling Michael, I was when it first ended. My first thing I said to Michael was I feel like this ended on a higher happiness note than it should have for what the show is. I mean, that could just be me. I'm sure a lot of people, maybe have a different opinion on that. It was just for me seeing that, especially the first episode of Goblin Slayer, seeing how dark it was at least portraying itself to be. I really got a different impression throughout the rest of the season. It's not to say it was terrible or I didn't like it. That was farther from the truth. I really did like this season. But as the show's going on, especially, out of the ones that we're covering, probably my least favorite.
I mean, I think it was a decent finale, but it wasn't a decent Goblin Slayer finale. As far as generic action adventure, fantasy shows go, I mean, it was decent, but it didn't. I don't know if it really stayed true to the theme of Goblin Slayer. Not that, I mean, because of the kind of abstract nature that they've set up, where they don't really develop that many characters, and you have all those generic names, and he's a Goblin Slayer. That's all he does. It didn't really stay true to that, and it's kind of hard though, because can you really? Because there's not really that much. There's not many places you really can go with that theme. So I mean, overall, the the fight scene animation in this one is pretty great. You still have that awful CGI from time to time, and it is immersion breaking for sure. But I'm satisfied that I watched Goblin Slayer. Was it my favorite anime even this season? No, probably not. But it was an experience, and we went there, and it's coming back, and I probably will check out season 2 since I haven't read the source material.
Yeah, I mean, like I said when I was talking, I liked it. I don't know if I could rate it any higher than like I like it, but it's got things that I did enjoy. The dynamic between his party is pretty interesting. I don't know if kind of it's really hard to pull off this kind of theme where you're trying to set up the characters in this world, especially like the main antagonist being, he's kind of like average in his physical abilities, so you're trying to make it to where he's vulnerable. And they do a good job in some areas, having him injured and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're trying to portray him as like, oh, he could die at any moment. But we obviously know he's not going to die because of him being the main protagonist. So, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, you take it for what it is. I think, looking at just what the season did, it's got some good moments in it, for sure. But like you said, I don't really know if it stands out in terms of looking back as, looking at it in the season or just in the year in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it set out to do, it did in a certain extent. It has that shock factor. It has that, this is going to be a gritty anime, and in some ways it did that. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't know. I think they did try to develop characters in the final episode, including Goblin Slayer, trying to make him an adventurer now. Or, on the journey to become a adventurer again, I guess. And I get where they're going with that. I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't read the next source material, so I don't know how it works out. But at the moment, I'm not totally bought in on that choice.
Well, it doesn't sound like reading the source material really means anything, because I've heard several people say that they've changed a lot.
Which, is understandable, because you have to make...
Well, and it's
changes.
Yeah, because they make it really, really dark in the books. But I think for what they showed, like not reading much of the source material, it didn't disappoint me as maybe some people that have really strong opinions out there maybe be coming in this video. But yeah, overall, the last episode, just looking at the last episode itself, a little underwhelming, but still cool. I think a lot of it maybe just done to where some of the scenes, look like it feels like we've seen them already. Like we already had the moment where, with the whole unmasking him. Now granted, it was on a bigger scale because all the adventurers got to see it. But, kind of already had that moment. We already had like the celebration at the Adventurers Guild or whatever you want to call it, in like the 11th episode. And so, seeing that as like the majority of the episode, I was just like, that's a really interesting, tackle or approach to a season finale. But I don't know. It's like, I may be sounding a little bit more negative than I want to come across, because I did like it. It was just like, it didn't change much for me. Maybe it's because the episode, oh man, I'm getting mixed up now. This is 13, so episode 12, yeah. Maybe it's just because episode 12 is so good. Sure. In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, overall, I'm glad I watched the show. I'd probably rate it a worth it, a solid 7, because I like the show and many things about the show. I mean, I like the party dynamic and all that, and it's a show that watching it week to week. I think if you watch it all, if you haven't caught up on the show and you want to watch it all in one session, or you want to recommend it to someone, I think. Certain people like it. It's definitely not an introductory show for people who are just getting into anime, since it's so dark and somewhat. It plays into some anime tropes, including random fan service here and there, and certain archetype characters and stuff like that. But if someone is looking for kind of a introduction to like a fantasy show, and they like Game of Thrones, or they like some darker stuff, it's not a bad recommendation, or at least it's somewhere to start.
What's crazy is I don't think any adventures that we were actually introduced to, I don't think any of them died past the first episode. I think the first episode's the only one that we actually get introduced to them, and they die. I mean, there is a couple people that die in the last battle, but we've never been. They're just random people.
Seems like a Marvel movie.
Oh, shots fired.
That's right.
But
anything else to say?
true.
I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like Michael said, I'm going to keep an open mind of checking out the second season. I'm sure since, they established everything and they kind of got, their footing on what kind of vibe they're wanting to go for, I think the second season is definitely going to improve on a lot of things. How much they improve, I think we're just going to have to wait and see for ourselves. But, some weird choices, but overall, did enjoy it. And that's pretty much all I got to say because I think I've said that like 4 or 5 times. So, in closing, any last regards?
That's good. No, I mean, check it out if you haven't seen it. There's a lot of other stuff on Channel to see. And if you want, this is the perfect episode to recommend other episode-by-episode reviews that you want us to do because we'll be continuing next season. So continue to comment like that because I will probably do so as well. But anyway, guys, it's been great. This has been a really popular series.
Yeah. Thank you for all the people that that joined the channel. Seeing these reviews, and also the people that were watching our other stuff and then decided to give this a chance. So
we'll be continuing the series in general as far as episode by episode reviews and make your suggestions. Later, addicts.
Peace.